What's cooking, folks? Vermillion Phoenix here, and today I am jumping into some more Orcs Must Die. This time we're going to start taking a look at Deadeye. Since the 2.3 and 2.4 patches have come out, she was released, subsequently updated with a lot of community feedback, a ton of which I absolutely agreed with, especially after seeing her initially, and just want to see, how she works now. So I'll be doing the same thing that I did with Midnight. I'll be going through all of the maps, seeing what I like and dislike about the character, and eventually, I guess, doing another review video or overview of how I think she works, and hopefully that helps everybody out. I apologize for the delay and the vacation. Well, I guess I don't apologize for the vacation. I kind of took one. And there's a lot of stuff going on, weddings and whatnot. But either way, it's all good. Let's go ahead and hop in here and take a look at what she can do.
Keep calm, aim carefully, stay alive.
All right, so here we go. Let's just take a quick look at her abilities. So we have a primary attack, fires a couple of arrows. She's pretty mobile while doing it, probably moving about as fast as Max. The fact that her attacks are split actually makes it pretty good. She deals okay damage. It's not amazing with the primary attack. And once her infamy kicks in, it's actually okay at dealing with small groups of enemies. You need them heavily bunched up to really take advantage of it. But it's not bad. It's just not amazing. However, she has a lot of abilities that deal damage in an area already. So the infamy just kind of feels like gravy, not like core to her playstyle. And I'm not sure... Oh man, I forgot to put the right ballista on. Not that I really need it. This will handle the bosses for me. And probably don't want to put those up yet anyway. Either way, that is going to cost me a bit of coin. Alright. But yeah, her primary attack, pretty good as primary attacks go. Not horrible. The split attacks actually make it easier to hit enemies and not miss. Infamy works pretty well with it. There's a bunch of weavers that synergize with it, almost every weaver she has. The only thing that feels weird is her tier 4 weaver. But I'll get to those later, just because Bramble, Barricade, and Clear 'em Out seem like two options for Ready, Steady, Fire that sort of come really late, and due to its long cooldown, it's really good at dealing burst damage, but there are other more consistent options, and she already has... Like, I don't like a character that can only deal with crowds every 60 seconds. And I think that with such a long cooldown on that move, that it's probably not worth actually picking too often. Now, I could be wrong on that, but like one of the other options is just having her primary attack pierce two enemies. And because most characters will deal a lot of damage with their primary attack, not a bad idea. So this is a Bramble ability. Covers about 2 tile. Well, it's a 1 tile radius from the center. So it covers about 3 tiles total. Tile and a half. There we go. No, I had it right the first time. 1 tile. So it covers 2 tiles total. And it's pretty good. It adds a good amount of slow to the enemies. It deals a small amount of damage. All of the upgrades for it are nice. As you can see here, enemies just walk through it and take damage. You don't have to summon it on them. They just need to touch it. The slow amount is sort of weak. It's almost unnoticeable by default.
Where do they see this?
But it works really well. You can increase the slow, but I would rather, personally, the default slow be a little bit better. Like, let's put them here and see if you can notice the speed slowdown. Like, probably not until the Stablehand hits them can you actually see a difference. However, you can summon it every few seconds, and it's 10 seconds, I believe, is the cooldown. It lasts for 5. So a slow and damaging ability that has 50% uptime at best is not bad. Consider that it pairs well with her bouncing bomb. It's pretty good. However, if you're gonna go with her primary attack, actually Deadlier Eye is something I wanted to test. All right, so this is going to do 134 normally. If we roll.
Be destroyed.
Alright, 134, and then oops, there we go. Too fast. Ooh. Okay. So that's interesting. One of the changes that happened with Deadeye was that hip shot used to give you a 50% damage buff by default for a pretty significant period of time. And it was 3 seconds. You had to basically just keep rolling to keep the damage buff up, but a 50% base attack bonus is really, really high. A lot of people complained about having to keep it up all of the time, and so you just were rolling all over the place. They changed that to a 20% buff, but the Weaver still adds a flat 50% damage right now. And so it still is probably the best choice, because now, like, while you do, it forces you into the exact same thing. You have to roll every 5 seconds. But it's a 70% attack increase now, and that's, like, ridiculous. That's almost like being Cygnus and near the Rift 100% of the time. To put that in perspective, I guess. That's really, really strong.
Good.
Like, I think too strong. And considering the fact that, like, even though the AoE is small, eventually you get that on the infamy explosions too. That seems kind of nuts. Now for tier 2, what did I select? I think I selected... Yeah, I got the Razor Weed Rend. Try saying that 5 times real fast. I have already tried. I cannot. Good luck to you guys. But Razor Weed... The Rend is really, really amazing, because it turns a skill that already deals damage and slows into a skill that does even more damage and slows. And if you decide to not go for all of this uber DPS that she's able to chuck out with the arrows and hip shot and rolling everywhere, you can actually just have it deal a lot of damage to...
This'll keep them guessing.
You can actually have the Razor Weeds slow enemies more and deal damage with the Rend. However, going down in infamy seems like really counterproductive. It makes it so that you only have to kill 2 large enemies to get her infamy stacks going. But if you're like, it seems like something that may be really good if you're going up against enemies that you can kill easily. But like the infamy ability, like to deal damage in an area, it's really small, and so it doesn't really feel like it's worth giving up additional damage everywhere else, or the ability to deal damage while rolling through enemies. So I wouldn't really, like, I don't see going down in infamy is really a good choice. For this actually, tier 3 is always where the really nice weavers are for me. Fired too early. So, wow, that 50% damage boost is really way too strong. It only adds it to her primary attack, so I guess it's not too bad.
And our heroes destroyed the
Okay.
unstable rift.
Tier 3 Weavers. Again, always really good. Fistful of Brambles makes it so that alright, so each of these is effectively 3 Brambles. 2 in the middle, 2 on the left, 2 on the right. You drop 2 of those Brambles when you roll if you choose Fistful of Brambles. However, that's every time you roll, and while they don't get any of the bonus effects like the bonus slow or the bleed damage, they will slow down the enemies and deal the base damage. So it's not the most amazing ability, but it's not bad. However, both of the other 2 abilities completely outshine it because you're going to be using your bouncing bomb pretty much all the time unless something is really, really wrong. So Hard Knocks allows the bouncing bomb, which you should probably be throwing out every time there's a heavy enemy or a large group of enemies, and allows it to stun enemies. If you need a bit more crowd control, or you have a setup that works really well for stunned enemies, I would recommend choosing that. Of course, crowd control does have a lot of limitations in certain game types and modes, so be aware that in those cases, if the stun is not worthwhile, just go for the DPS. Fistful of Brambles or Burning Hate are going to be your choices in that case. And because she's really good at dealing area DPS, choosing more area DPS is already really nice. So Burning Hate allows you to toss your normal bomb, and that's what I'm going to choose now. And then you get a small area of burning damage that burns enemies even more, sets them on fire. It's just stupidly good.
Well done. The unstable rift has been destroyed.
So, you get to set enemies on fire, slow them, force them to bleed. And then, after all that, you still have more abilities. When you get to tier 4, your options become have your primary attack pierce 2 targets. As you can see, primary attack already has a ton of stackable damage boosts with that either 15% rate of fire and the 20% damage boost, or that's pretty good. It's like 15% of 120%. It's a good amount. It's not as high as 170%, but that probably needs to be looked at. I don't think they meant to leave the hip shot buff as high as they have. But now we're getting to the point where enemies are starting to get a little heavy, and I'm not rolling enough to keep things up. That's the only thing with the hip shot buff. You gotta keep rolling and keep it up. Alright, and then we have so more misdeeds, obviously really good if you take either of those primary attack bonuses at tier 1. The razor reeds are usually good enough to kill explosive kobolds, which is very nice. That is strong. More misdeeds is probably what I'm going to choose 90% of the time. Then both of her other tier 4 abilities work for this. And she basically turns herself into a little mini turret, does almost as much damage as her, well, a little bit more damage than her primary attack per shot, and fires about 3 times as fast. Now, more misdeeds basically makes it so that your primary attack does the same amount of base damage as that, while the other ones will allow your attacks to pierce enemies. But with a narrow cone of fire and the inability to move, you're basically buffing an ability that makes you more susceptible to damage versus buffing something that is already extremely safe and can be made really powerful, just as strong if not stronger due to the current hip shot buff mechanics. So I would probably always take this over either of those abilities, and they will either need to be strengthened or changed in some way to really be viable.
Cold blood. We won for this. I'd love to see the look on your smart.
I'm dancing behind the Stablehand. Well, that was that. Overall, that is a first look at Deadeye, and well, really more of like a second or third look, seeing as all the changes that have been made. But either way, I think that she's in a really excellent place right now. I'm not sure how she fits in with the rest of the roster, but over time, with a bit of team play, I'm sure we'll find out. But either way, I like it. And of course, you know, with the next patch coming, whenever it gets here, we will have our next hero, which is Elin, who is already in the Chinese version of the game, and I think she's going to be retooled in some way for the, I guess this is the global release, not sure, or the Americas version, I don't know. Either way, we will be having even more new heroes added to the roster, and I think it's just going to diversify the cast a bit and make things even more interesting. But that was the baths, and we will be moving on to maximum security next. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. I will be working on the rest of these videos shortly, so there shouldn't be a long delay with them. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Either way, thanks as always for watching. I sincerely appreciate it. And until next time, as always, have a good one, folks.